Hey everyone, welcome back to Rob's Reviews. This is Belle, and today we need to talk about something huge happening in Severance Season 2. While the season has been a wild ride with mind bending twists and straight up insanity, one character has been missing in action: Harmony Cobel. Now, last time we saw Cobel, aka former manager of the severed floor, she was sleeping in her car on the side of the highway. Totally normal behavior for a woman who once held one of the most powerful positions at Lumon. She wakes up, starts driving, and then out of nowhere flips the hell out, makes a U turn, and heads toward a place called Salt Snack. And listen, when a character like Cobel randomly decides to go somewhere, you know it's important. Cut to 5 episodes later, and we finally see what Salt Snack is all about. And oh man, this town is rough. It's like someone took a once thriving coastal village, drained all the life out of it, and replaced every other resident with a struggling drug addict. But here's the thing: Salt Snack isn't just some random rundown town, it's the birthplace of Lumen. And not just the ether mill we keep hearing about. No, no, no. This is the original Lumen town. We literally see an old brick building with Lumen stamped on the front. Now, Cobell doesn't waste much time. She freshens up, casually watches a guy huff ether from a paper bag, as one does, and then heads to a diner called Drippy Pot Cafe. And let's just take a moment to appreciate that name, because honestly, it's hilarious. But she's not there for the coffee. She's there to meet an old friend, Hampton the waiter. We don't know much about this guy yet, but what we do know is that he's not thrilled to see her, and the moment she brings up needing a favor, he launches into what might be the most bizarrely corporate response I've ever heard from a random small town waiter. I was like, are you a waiter or milk chick in disguise? But of course, Cobell gets what she wants. She convinces Hampton to meet her at the ether mill, and that's when things start getting really interesting. Because here's the thing: Severance just took a sharp turn into early stage capitalism. And yeah, my head hurts too. The show is making a huge statement about American labor history here. The way Keir Egan built up Salt Snack only to seemingly abandon it feels eerily familiar because it is. This is Andrew Carnegie levels of corporation exploitation. Carnegie was one of the richest men in history, made a fortune off the steel industry, treated his workers like absolute garbage, and then tried to rewrite his legacy with a bunch of museums and libraries. Sound familiar? Here again energy. And here's why this matters. Severance isn't just a show about workplace horror anymore. It's straight up attacking the way corporations shape and destroy entire communities. Salt Snack is a town that Lumen used, drained, and left for dead. And considering how season 2 has been leaning hard into the idea that Lumen has been messing with people's minds for generations, it's safe to say that this town's history is way more disturbing than we realized. So, what is Cobell really doing here? Is she looking for something, trying to reclaim power, or is she just another relic of Lumen's past, wandering around the ruins of a place that no longer serves her? Whatever the case, Severance is making one thing very clear: it's all connected. And I have a feeling that when we finally learn the truth about Salt Snack, it's going to change everything we thought we knew about this show. Now, back to the ether mill. Cobell tells us this place is important. It's where Kier met his wife. But that's not the biggest reveal. This is where we learn that Salt Snack wasn't just a factory town, it was a terrifying place. Cobell meets up with Hampton, an old friend, and she tries to get on his good side by saying, "We were once chums." But his response? Colleagues? Child fucking labor? Yeah, it turns out kids were forced to work in the ether mill. And it gets worse. Later in the episode, Cobell and Hampton are talking while getting high off ether, which, yikes. And Cobell casually says, "I haven't done that since I was 8." Hampton replies, You ready to man the vat for 10 hours? That means Cobel was working in this mill when she was just a child. Let's talk about ether for a second. Apparently, in the 1800s and early 1900s, people used diethyl ether as a party drug. Before people were taking pills, they were huffing ether. And that episode titled Sweet Vitriol, that's actually what ether's inventor called it. Sounds exactly like something Kier would say, right? So, what does these all mean? Severance isn't just about creepy office jobs. It's showing us the dark history behind big companies like Lumon, child labor, drug use, and entire towns being controlled by one corporation. Salt Snack is proof that Lumon has been dangerous for generations. And with Cobel digging into the past, we're about to learn a lot more. Cobell and Hampton, well, let's just say they have a little ether induced moment, which is a sentence I never thought I'd say. Then, just as we're still processing that unexpected development, Severance hits us with another brain breaking reveal. Cobell, on a mission all episode, finally finds that she's looking for on the shed her old things. But instead of a nostalgic trip down memory lane, we get a rapid fire sequence of critical details that basically rewrite everything we thought we knew about her. So let's break this down. First, we learned that Harmony Cobel wasn't always the terrifyingly composed corporate mastermind we know her as today. She was once just a kid, born into a working class family at the Lumen ether mill. And by the time she was 8, she was already laboring away like a tiny cog in the machine. Child labor? In this economy? Here Egan really said, start him young. Then, as if her life wasn't already weird enough, she got sent to the Myrtle Egan School for Girls. Yes, that school. The one we briefly heard about in season 1. Designed to drill Kier's philosophy into young minds, and because of course she did, Cobell thrived there. She was a valedictorian, and I'd bet good money she was also the type of student who reminded the teacher to collect homework. For all her efforts, she gets the Wintertide Fellowship, which is supposed to be some prestigious Lumen honor. Sounds fancy, right? But here's where things get interesting. Milchick actually mentioned the Wintertide Fellowship back in episode 6 while ranting to Miss Wong. So now I have questions. Did Miss Wong go to Myrtle too? Is she secretly another Lumen prodigy? And what exactly is the Wintertide Fellowship? Is it just an elite fast track to Lumen's inner circle, or is there something even creepier at play? Then comes the real kicker. Cobell invented the severance procedure. Yep, not Care, not Egan, her. And in true corporate fashion, Egan swooped in, slapped his name on it, and took all the credit. Classic. No wonder Cobell has been acting extra unhinged this season. Imagine creating something that completely alters human identity only to have some rich guy with a family legacy claim it as his own. And this brings us to the episode's most dramatic moment. Cobell, back in her childhood home, completely unraveling as she screams, Mine, my designs, like a toddler who just had their crayons stolen. Honestly, kind of relatable. But then she does something wild. She tries to burn the designs. Like, ma'am, you've spent years glowing your way up Lumen's ranks and now you're just going to set fire to your own life's work? Cece, who is understandably baffled, looks through the sketches, skulls, severance chips, weird equations before asking why Cobell never spoke about this before. Cobell's answer? It was told Kier's knowledge is for all, that if I sought credit, I would be banished. Wow, the brainwashing runs deep. All season long, I assumed Milchick would be the one to break free from Lumen's grip and lead the rebellion. I was wrong. It's Harmony freaking Cobell. And honestly, I love that twist. If anyone is going to burn Lumen to the ground, it's the woman who built it in the first place. But the question is, Will she actually go through with it, or is she just playing a much bigger game? What do you think? Is Kubal about to become Lumen's biggest enemy, or is this just another power move? And most importantly, should we all be deeply concerned about how much Kier Egan's corporate cult resembles, well, certain real world companies? In the final, pulse pounding moments of the episode, we witness an almost cinematic standoff. Hampton, the unexpected hero of the Severance, squares up against the incoming Lumen Brigade, standing his ground like he's in a dystopian western. This man, who just moments ago was snuffing ether and trading insults, now stares down the very forces that have shaped and ruined so many lives. Meanwhile, Cobel, ever the enigma, speeds away into the night, untouched and seemingly untethered by the chaos she leaves behind. And then, at long last, she answers Devon's call. The moment she hears that Mark is reintegrating, the pieces fall into place for her. She knows Rigabi is behind it. And you can almost see the wheels turning in her head, plotting her next move, calculating her next betrayal, or maybe even setting the stage for an actual rebellion. Whatever comes next, one thing is certain: Harmony Cobel is not done yet. But let's take a step back. You came here for theories, right? So, during my deep dive, I stumbled across a 3-year-old post from someone on Twitter, which might just hold the key to everything. It pointed out that Keir Egan and his wife originally worked in an ether factory. Now, ether has two primary meanings. It was widely used as an anesthetic starting in 1846, effectively knocking people out during medical procedures. In a more poetic sense, ether refers to the heavens, or the unseen substance that fills all empty space. Now, if we stitch these ideas together, what if Lumen actually started as a pharmaceutical company specializing in ether production before evolving into something far more sinister? Think about it. We already know Lumen has some ties to healthcare. In episode 7, we saw its logo plastered on fertility clinic documents, suggesting they have some control or interest in reproductive medicine. But what if their real breakthrough wasn't just medical? It was psychological. What if, in their quest to create a stronger, more effective anesthetic, they accidentally or intentionally stumbled upon severance? Instead of just numbing pain, they discovered a way to numb identity itself. That's the case, then the severance chip was never about work life balance. It was about complete and total control. And the more you think about it, the more the evidence piles up. Consider the testing floor. The first room Gemma wakes up in, Allentown, which is a not so subtle nod to painful dental procedures. Why would that be the first thing she experiences? Because maybe, just maybe, Lumon's earliest experiments with severance were about medical sedation, pain suppression, or even memory suppression for trauma patients. But then they realized, hey, why stop there? Why not erase the pain entirely? Why not erase the person feeling it? This could also explain the lumen's involvement in fertility treatments and the re existence of the Domona birthing retreat. If they started as a pharma company, they might have been experimenting with procedures far beyond just severance. What if they were developing new ways to engineer the perfect human worker? What if they've been tampering with genetics, memory, and even artificial consciousness? It would certainly make Mark's whole situation even more disturbing, especially if Gemma is somehow a byproduct of these experiments rather than just a severed employee. And then, of course, we have Cobel's breakdown in the shed. The moment she screams, mine designs, is one of the most haunting and revealing moments in the entire show. She wasn't just an administrator or some high ranking Lumen loyalist. She was the architect of Severance. She was the one who invented it, only for Egan to swoop in and claim it as his own. That changes everything. It means Cobell isn't just playing both sides. She's been trying to reclaim what was stolen from her. But for what purpose? Does she want revenge against Lumen, or does she still believe in the vision she helped create? Is she here to destroy Severance or to perfect it? And let's not forget another looming question. What exactly is the Wintertide Fellowship? We know Cobell received it as an award from Egan, and Milchick mentioned completing it as well. But what is it? An accelerated career track, a high level indoctrination program, or something much darker. Maybe the Wintertide Fellowship is how Lumen chooses its future leaders, the one who are willing to go through whatever horrifying transformation process turns them into true believers. Maybe Milchick isn't just a loyal employee. Maybe he's next in line for something even bigger. And this leads me to one final, absolutely unhinged thought. What if Lumen's endgame isn't just severance? What if they're trying to transcend humanity entirely? We've seen hints that Lumen worships Kier like a god, and we know they've been meddling in consciousness, memory, and the very fabric of identity itself. What if the ultimate goal is to create a world where people don't need a self, where they exist purely as vessels for Kier's will? What if severance isn't just about making people better workers, but about making them something else entirely? At this point, I'm fully spiraling, so I'm going to stop before I start drawing red string on my walls. But what do you think? Was Severance originally a medical experiment gone wrong, or horribly right? Is Cobell really the key to everything? And most importantly, how the hell are we supposed to survive until next week's episode? Because if this is where we are now, I can't even imagine what's coming next. At this point, my brain feels as scrambled as a severed worker's memories, and I'm still no closer to figuring out where this is all headed. But that's the beauty of Severance, isn't it? Just when you think you've cracked the code, Lumen throws another cryptic clue, or an entire existential crisis into the mix. Whether Cobell is the true mastermind, whether Lumen's origins lie in pharmaceuticals, or whether we're all just pieces in Kier's never ending chess game, one thing is clear: this show isn't just about work life balance, it's about power, identity, and what happens when you hand over control of your mind to the wrong people. So, as we sit here collectively losing our minds over every new revelation, I leave you with this. What do you think the Wintertide Fellowship really is? Could Severance have started as an innocent medical breakthrough before morphing into corporate mind control? And most importantly, does Hampton deserve a raise for the amount of chaos he's endured? Drop your theories in the comment, rewatch every episode with an unhealthy level of scrutiny, and prepare yourselves for whatever nightmare Severance throws at us next. Until then, I'll be over here spiraling deeper into my Lumen conspiracy board. See you next week, friends.